Acquiring Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving is the greatest thing to never happen to the New York Knicks. Do you remember when Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant signed with Brooklyn, and for a few weeks, if not a few months, the leading story about the Knicks or New York City basketball or Kevin Durant was that Kevin Durant said the Knicks aren't cool? Yo, this is about to turn into a rant real quick. We are about to go in. All that's coming up next right here on Riding with the Knicks. Welcome back to Riding with the Knicks. This is the channel where we talk about the team that we love, the New York Knicks, this season as it unfolds, and the deeper themes that we can pull out of the game and apply to our lives to be the best versions of ourselves. That's what I'm after. I want to be the best version of me. And I think from what I've read in the comments and the discussions I've had with people on here, I think that y'all want to be the best versions of you too. And so I hope that on this beautiful Friday, heading into the weekend, that this video can be that for you, that it can help you see something in a new perspective. We always talk about the game that we love. You know, we always talk about the Knicks. We always talk about the storylines and stuff. But the purpose of this channel is not to do deep dive analytics. It's not to do like 2K creations, although I love those types of videos. This channel is about pulling out these deeper themes that will impact our lives, that will actually impact you, it'll impact me. Not just escape into sports, but to impact the trajectory of our lives. I want to do that too. So let me hear from you. I love when people put stuff in the comments that's a different perspective than what I've had. I made a video about Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz 2 videos ago, and I had a lot of Jazz players, not players, I wish. I had a lot of Jazz fans in the comment section, and it was great to talk with some of y'all who are maybe not Knicks fans. And so I'm trying to be the best version of me, and so you can help me with that, I can help you with that. All of us are better than one of us. All of us are smarter than one of us. So let's do this thing together. If you are here and you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you just watch the first 2 minutes of this and you're like, I'm about this, let's hit that subscribe button. It doesn't take a lot for you to do it, but it means a ton for me. It hasn't even been a year yet of this channel, and we're coming up on 1,000 subs. I think we'll have 1,000 before November, which is when the channel will turn 1 year old, which will be a huge reason to celebrate. So let's get right to it. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get right to it. Kevin Durant said that the Knicks weren't cool. Now, you could say a lot of things about the Knicks. You and I both know this, that the Knicks haven't been successful, that they haven't been winning, that they haven't had culture, that they haven't had a good front office, that they haven't had a good owner, that, you know, there's been heartache, that whatever, that we've made terrible trades. Like, you could say a lot of negative things about the Knicks organization, but one thing you cannot say if you want to be telling the truth is that the Knicks aren't cool. I'm sorry, you can't say it. I'm sorry if you don't like it. The Knicks are cool. Unfortunately, for everybody else, the Knicks are cool. They have always been cool. They always will be cool, no matter what we're doing on the records. I mean, we want to win for sure, but you cannot come up here and say the Knicks are not the cool thing. I don't care. I don't know what you're defining cool as. Maybe you're not defining it as popular or profitable or well-known or recognizable or storied history. Maybe you have a different definition of cool. Maybe you think of it as like some like they're not boutique or they're not whatever, like they're not unknown or undiscovered. Like maybe that's the direction he was going with it. But listen, if we're talking about cool and popularity, that's the Knicks, all right? And so you can see that prove out immediately when the Knicks had a surprisingly successful season 2 seasons ago, and the city went nuts for the Knicks. People don't care about the Nets. They don't care. And so if you want to avoid the smoke, if you want to avoid the cameras, if you want to avoid the pressure and still try to come to New York and make something of it, go to the Nets. If you want the heat, if you want the Madison Square Garden, if you want all of that, come to the Knicks. And so the Knicks aren't cool is false. And so everybody was dogging the Knicks. Everybody was dogging the Knicks. When we didn't get Kyrie and we didn't get Kevin Durant. You know, and of course, the ringleader of the circus is Stephen A. Smith. And he, you know, whatever, he's making his money, he's doing his thing. I don't think half of that, or 75% of it is authentic, but whatever. He's doing a great job at making money and making his name big. Good for him. But as far as like a real take, that ain't a real take. Like, let's get into this. We're going to get into Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, super teams, building the right way, and then what does that mean for me and you? We're going to do it in the next few minutes, so let's dive straight into the deep end now. Kevin Durant was injured with an Achilles injury. Nobody knows what's going to happen after that, but the record shows it's not great, okay? Kyrie Irving has been a culture killer. I'm not trying to be here to disparage people. I've done some of that on the channel. I don't want this channel to be about that. I want this to be about good vibes, about positivity, and we can do all that without hurting or disparaging other people. And so what I'm saying about Kyrie Irving, I don't know the man. I don't know the man. So I'm not going to say negative things about his character or stuff like that. What I will say is that the evidence has shown that he hasn't been a great culture guy. And so I've never been someone who's wanted the Knicks to acquire Kyrie Irving. I've never thought that that was a good idea. I mean, would I root for him if he was a Knick? Of course. Is he an amazing talent? Of course. But I think that we don't put enough stock in the culture, in the leadership, in like the work ethic, in the surrender, in the sacrifice. Like, not saying again that he doesn't have those things, but I'm saying they haven't been on display as of late, and that teams have moved on from him, and whatever. And so you've got those two guys, and then you've got them paired together. And so I don't know. I was never so hyped about them both coming to the Knicks. And so, okay, I said we got Kevin Durant, we got Kyrie Irving, then we got super teams. So let's take a second and talk about super teams. I want to break this down in two different categories. Obviously, we can do that a bunch of different ways. Let me know how you would do it. But for the sake of this video, I want to break down super teams in two different ways. I'm going to call one a microwave team. That's when people all descend on one team in one city in free agency, or somebody forces their way out of a contract, says, I'm done playing here, I've asked for a trade, puts the team in a position where they have to trade this person. Then they'll put out a list of teams where they want to be traded to, which then puts even more pressure on the team. And then they end up gutting the team they go to. So those I'm going to call microwave super teams because they're forced, they're immediate. And then I'm going to call developed super teams. Those are teams that build through the draft, have great player development, maybe acquire one piece here or there to push a well-built team over the top. All right? So we got microwave teams and we've got developed teams. So what did Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant do to the Brooklyn Nets, who had built something special? They had built something special. They had the terrible thing with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, and then they kind of had to rebuild through the draft, rebuild from nothing, and they did a great job of that. And then they did it all again, basically. With, I would say that of developed or microwave, I would put the Nets in the microwave category as of late. And so, how have those teams fared over the last 10 seasons? Because we've got examples of that. You've got people forcing their way out of teams, like ruining other franchises. Like player empowerment is one thing, but when there's no commitment to my word, my side of what I signed on the line, like that's not going to breed. It's not going to bear good fruit. Is what I'm going to say. So let's look at the last 10 seasons. In 2013, the Miami Heat beat the Spurs. I would say the Heat were a microwave team, and the Spurs were a developed team. In 14, the Spurs beat the Heat. In 15, the Warriors beat the Cavs, and I'm pretty sure that's the year that the Cavs had Kyrie, who was injured, Kevin Love, who got injured, and then if they did it, people say that they probably could have beat that Warriors team. I don't know what you would call the Cavs, that iteration of the Cavs team. Would you call them a microwave team? Maybe. I guess it's fair to call them that. But on the other side, the Warriors, you gotta call them developed team. They're like the quintessential developed team at that stage of where they were. Then you got the next year, the Cavs beat the Warriors in that epic, 3-1 down, turned it around. Then you've got they had four years in a row where it was the Cavs and the Warriors. So it goes, Warriors beat the Cavs beat the Warriors. Then the Warriors acquired Kevin Durant. They went 2 straight over the Cavs. And that brings us back to 2019. You've got the Raptors. They beat the Warriors. Lots of injuries going on there. But I would call the Raptors developed. And then they acquired that one piece in Kawhi Leonard. Then you've got the Lakers. The Lakers were totally microwaved. They were totally like Anthony Davis forced his way out, but then that was the bubble. So what are you going to make of that? I got an asterisk next to it. A lot of people do. Some people don't. But it was definitely not a normal circumstance. Then you got the Bucks over the Suns. The Bucks were developed, 100% developed. Great example of that. And then the Warriors over the Celtics. The Celtics lost, but they're a developed team as well. I think that the Warriors are, especially in their current form. And so over that, what I see when you try to microwave success, you end up ruining franchises, and maybe for what? For like an off year of a victory, of winning the whole thing. If that's what the goal is, then I guess go for it. But there's no question that a developed team like the Spurs, or a developed team like the Milwaukee Bucks, or a developed team like the Warriors, or a developed team like the Celtics, like they're not going out and doing those crazy deals to blow their team up. Like that, those are the teams that are ultimately successful for a longer term, and it feels more authentic. Doesn't it feel different? You've got the teams like let's talk about the outlier in my perspective, which is the Miami Heat. They were you could call them a microwave team, but I think that only works when the organization is strong. And the Miami Heat is a strong organization. And what has gone wrong in Brooklyn is that you got the players basically saying, we don't need a coach, and we don't need this, and we don't need that. And you submit everything to the players, and the players then have almost like too much responsibility. They don't need to carry or hold all that stuff. And so I think that the whole like blowing your team up to get Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, which the Knicks probably would have done if given the chance a couple years ago, would have been a disaster. Look at it. Look how it's unfolded. It's been an utter disaster. And so the greatest thing to never happen to the Knicks is signing Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Like, can we just take a beat as a fan base, as a team, and say, let's keep doing what we're doing? We've got a ton of picks. We've got a ton of young talent. We've got favorable deals. Like, we're in a great position. Don't we want to build this thing slowly the right way? Don't we want to, when we make our move, don't we want it to be like that move when they got Kawhi Leonard in Toronto and they won? Like, don't we want to do the icing on the cake type deal instead of the blow it up and hope for the best? That's what I would want to do. And so if this is going to be a channel where we talk about the deeper themes, like how this can impact you or I, it's this. Right now, there's something called the Great Resignation. Everybody's quitting their jobs in a certain age range and demographic. And it's because we think that the grass is going to be greener on the other side. We think that like submitting to authority and leadership is terribly abusive, and it's restricting us from being the best versions of ourselves. That's a lie. That's a lie. Like for me and you, if you're in an abusive situation, physically or emotionally, like you got to get out of that. Okay, listen up. You got to get out of that. But having some strong leadership over you, like putting in some years of work where you feel like you're undervalued, like earning some of those stripes is not a bad thing. It's a value that I feel like we've lost as of late. And so I would say for people who are prone to running, prone to jumping ship, prone to just saying, yeah, I know I said I'd be here. I know I said I'd do this and that. I know I said I'd stay committed to this relationship, or committed to these kids, or committed to this job. Like, I just don't feel like it right now. And so I'm going to just go do me. Like, I would strongly urge you to pause, because if one thing is certain, it's change. Even if you think that like, hey, I'm in this relationship, or I'm in this job, or I'm in this state, or I'm in this whatever, like, and nothing's gonna change, things change. And so much is learned, so much is gained, so much is garnered, so much is planted and sown in those hard and challenging times. And if you don't think you're growing, or you don't think that you're progressing, or you feel stale, like, it doesn't hurt to test the waters, to interview different places, to be interested in what else is out there. But I would say, like, be really slow to make major changes in your life. Make sure that it's the right thing, and make sure that that you're not just committed to like a mirage. And I think that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on the Knicks 2 years ago was clearly a mirage. We've seen how that's fallen apart. We saw the Knicks have a great season 2 seasons ago, down season last year. But now there's a lot of hope, and we're making good decisions moving forward. I would much rather build like this than build like this. Yeah, no thanks. But I'm only one man with one opinion. I would love to hear yours. I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear maybe what you're going through that I can maybe encourage you in or pray for you in. I would love to see people in the comments encouraging one another. We're in a weird time, but there's a lot of value to gain, and there's a lot of good future fruit that we could be sowing right now in this season. So I hope this is valuable to you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hitting that subscribe. Thank you for rooting for the Knicks. Thank you for supporting this channel, and I'm going to see you in the next video.